Where are we at in terms of Arm's IPO?
Well, it's finally happening. Arm had been a public company before SoftBank acquired Arm for $32 billion. It's looked at a number of different strategic options for it. It tried to sell it to Nvidia at one point, and now Arm is hitting the road for its roadshow, and it's talking to investors. The news that we have today is that they do have these strategic investors jumping in to put money into the offering. That's Apple, Intel, Nvidia, as you mentioned, and Samsung, a few others also. They're putting in this money as they're customers of the company. They're supporting the offering, and that will give them a bit of momentum as they go and they start talking to investors about raising this money. This is likely going to be the largest IPO of the year. They're looking to raise $5 to $7 billion at this point. At one point, they were looking to add $8 to $10 billion, but it's probably going to be the biggest IPO of the year. But now they have to go out and talk to investors about it and see what kind of feedback they get beyond these customers that already know the business quite well.
I'm curious what this means for these backers, for Arm and the broader tech industry. Are there implications there?
Well, it's a vote of support for Arm. Arm sells designs that are sort of templates that go into chips. So chip makers buy these designs, they license them, and then they put them into products. So those are Qualcomm, Nvidia. Now, tech companies that make their own chips like Apple are also using these designs. Arm has been very, very strong in the smartphone market, but the smartphone market right now is stagnant. It's not growing nearly the way it had been in the past. So Arm is trying to expand beyond that into some of these key new areas, including artificial intelligence, servers, cloud computing, all sorts of growth areas where they think there's more potential. So the key for them is being able to move into that territory and benefit from it and reap the kind of profits that they hope they can in the future.
What does it mean for SoftBank more broadly?
Well, this was one of the big bets by SoftBank founder Masayoshi Son. When he invested in the company, he had high hopes that Arm was going to be his window really into growth areas like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things. It hasn't worked out quite the way that he expected. The company has not grown as much as he had originally anticipated. It has not been kind of that window. Again, he tried to sell it to Nvidia before, and so the IPO is a bit of a backup option. He has been very involved in the operations of the company. He's been trying to help with this expansion beyond smartphones into some of these new growth areas for the tech industry. And at this point, we've seen some modest growth at the company in terms of revenue and profits, but it has to invest quite heavily. Beyond that, it has a pretty big risk factor in the IPO prospectus where it talks about what's happening in China. Arm China is actually the biggest revenue generator for the company at this point, but it faces all sorts of geopolitical issues in that market where they're trying to grow, they're trying to sell to the customers in China, but there's a lot of tensions between the US and Beijing that create difficulties for that unit.